Hi, Andre. All right, then let's do the message for today. And the message is, get up and walk. As most of you know, I had a pretty busy October. Mid-October, I attended the FEIC conference, met with other pastors from our network. Then I came back and that very weekend, then we had the time with Claire. And then last weekend, my family and I went to the Black Forest to visit my dad, to visit my relatives. And that was a great chance to really slow down a bit, reflect on all the things that had happened. And so I'm still a little bit in the process of digesting everything, trying to understand everything that had happened in October. I still have a few open questions to God, but I do feel ready now to really share with this congregation of what I feel God has been speaking to me. And the main message that I feel God has been giving us, or giving through me for all of us, is really get up and walk. I believe that's something He's been speaking to me through this, for me personally, but also to us as a church. When God gave me this message, He also reminded me of a passage in John chapter 5 that we're going to read in a second. And today I'm going to share with you why I think God gave me these two things in parallel. Let me start with the passage. Hopefully, we'll see then the connection later on. John 5, verses 1 to 9. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of invalid folk, of blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatever disease he had. And a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. That's longer than many of us have lived so far. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been now a long time in that condition, he said unto him, Will you be made whole? The invalid man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steps down before me. Jesus said unto him, Rise, take up your bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, took up his bed, and walked. And that same day was the Sabbath. Now, I won't study the whole passage in depth today, but what I do want to do is I want to focus on the sick man, because I believe that this is where God made the parallel to us. I believe that we, in some aspect, are like that sick man, and God is telling up, it's time to get up, it's time to walk. So what do we know about this man? Well, we know he was sick, and we can be certain that he was lame, because the miracle in the end was that he could walk. So there was a man who was lame. He knew about this pool. He knew about the miracle that happens at this pool. He knew that there was an angel coming at certain times, obviously not fixed times, it just happened at certain times, and the first person stepping into this pool gets healed. So he tried his best to receive his healing. We know that he was there for a long time. We know that he had already tried for many years, probably decades. He was sick already for 38 years. So we don't know how long he was at the pool, but I'm sure he didn't just arrive there the day before. He was probably there for many months, or not months, many years already, probably decades. Bible doesn't say exactly, but I could imagine what might have happened over all these years of waiting. Many years earlier, the guy arrives at this pool full of hope. He's full of expectations. He is full of hope that one day I'm going to be the first one. This miracle is happening regularly. And maybe not the first time, maybe not the second time, but one of these times I'm going to be the first one and I'm going to get my healing. This is going to be the end of my sickness. This is going to be the end of my terrible life that I'm having right now. I just have to get to this pool. I just have to step in first, and then I'm going to get my healing. But then, over all these many years, one disappointment after the other happens. The water was being stirred. He ran there. He did his best. Someone else was faster. He tried his best. He was probably waiting at the edge of the pool. Maybe he was right there and thinking like, then I don't have to walk. Then I'm just going to jump in right there. And still, somehow, he missed it. Maybe at times he was sleeping, or he went to the bathroom, or he was eating or something like that. And then the stirring happened, and then he was like, man, I missed it again. And someone else was faster again. One disappointment after the other, again and again and again. Now, the Bible doesn't say clearly what happened, what he tried, but one thing we do know. We do know what these disappointments over all these years, what they did to this man. In verse 7, the invalid man answered him, "Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steps down before me." Can you hear the depression in his voice? The sadness? The hopelessness? Think about it. Here is Jesus, and he asks him, "Do you want to be made well? Do you want me to heal you?" And what is his answer? "I can't. I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough." From our perspective, that's a ridiculous answer. Jesus, the Son of God, offers healing, and he is finding an excuse why he says, "I cannot be healed." It's a silly answer, but it tells us something about his state of mind. It tells us something about how hopeless and how depressed he felt. All these years of trying to earn his healing did something to him. All these years made him believe things about himself that are not true. He believed that he was worth nothing. I'm not worthy to be healed. His self-image was totally broken. I'm not good enough to be healed. His hope was broken. I will never receive my healing. All these years of disappointment just put him down, and they did something to his hope, to his self-image, to his faith. He lost all hope, and he could not see any solution any longer. All he knew was, I tried, and it never worked. And now I believe it never will. There is no way I will never be able to receive my healing. The main problem here really comes down to this. He put all his hope in his performance. He said, if I want to be healed, there are two possibilities. First possibility, I have to be good enough. I have to be better. I have to be faster. I have to be more alert. I have to fight my way through the crowd. I have to beat others, being better than them, so that I can receive my healing. Or, and that's what he clearly stated in this passage, I need help. I can't do it, but other people can do it. Other people can carry me fast enough. Other people can maybe watch with me. Other people can maybe tell me, hey, the water is being stirred, come quickly, these kind of things. But what he believed was basically healing by works. I have to be good enough to receive my healing. That's what all these years of disappointment did to him. I am not good enough, that's why I don't get healed. If only I could be better, then I could receive my healing. He basically believed that the circumstances prevented him from receiving his healing. If only the circumstances would change, then I could be healed. If I could move a little bit better, if someone was there to help me, if the water was stirred at the right time, if something like that in the circumstances changes, then I can be healed. But that, of course, never happened. He believed I need to be better to be healed. Now let's think about Jesus for a second. Jesus obviously knew the condition of this man. He wanted to heal him. And basically, Jesus had two possibilities. One possibility would have been to say, hey, what you're believing is all wrong. So let me settle this. Let me convince you first. Let me talk with you first that your belief system is wrong. And then once you believe the right things, then I'm going to heal you. Or the other possibility, and that's what he actually did, was to say, I'm just going to mess up your whole belief system in a moment. I'm just going to heal you. I'm not going to try to talk with you. I'm not trying to convince you or anything. I'm just going to heal you. And then we'll talk about your belief system later. Because my healing for you will change the way you think automatically. After I heal you, you will not believe that you're not good enough anymore. You will not believe any longer that you have to earn your healing or anything. Once I heal you, you will just realize that your belief system was completely off. I'm sure after receiving the healing, this guy was thinking to himself, I've been lying at this pool for decades. Why did I put my trust in this pool? Why didn't I simply ask God for a healing long time ago? Why didn't I simply go to him right away? I realize now I put my trust in the circumstances. I put my trust in this pool. I put my trust in my own performance. But in the end, it's God anyways. He can heal anyone he wants at any time. Why did I put my trust in my performance? I could have had my healing nearly 40 years ago if I had simply asked God. I always thought I wasn't good enough, but now I realize that's all a lie. God loves me. God cares for me. He just healed me. I didn't have to do anything. And now suddenly I realize that these lies that I did believe, they kept me down. I put myself in a hole by believing all these lies. These lies caused me to act in a stupid way, and that way I just dug my own hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And Jesus knew, I can't reason with this guy. I just have to heal him. And then he will realize that his belief system was completely off. Jesus didn't put any conditions on the healing. The guy didn't have to do anything before he could get healed. Jesus just did it. But there was one thing the guy still had to do after he received the healing. He had to get up and he had to walk. The healing was available. Jesus did say, hey, you can walk now. But he still had a choice. He still had the choice to say, you know what? No, I'm still going to put my trust in the pool. I'm going to stay here. And next time, maybe you help me a little bit. Next time, I'm going to be the first one. He could have still waited for the next stirring. He could have still continued his own life. He could have still just continued to lie next to the pool and to lie next to all those people who were sick. So the healing was already there. It was already available. But the question was, do you now stay lying there? Or are you just responding to what Jesus said? And are you going to embrace the healing that you've already received? Are you going to get up? And are you going to walk? That choice he still had. Thankfully, this guy, he figured out what he was supposed to do. And he did just what Jesus said. He got up, he walked, he embraced the healing that he received. And from that day on, I'm sure he lived a very different life. And probably for the rest of his life, he told everyone, Jesus can heal you. Don't put your trust in this pool. Don't put your trust in the circumstances. Jesus can heal you just like he healed me. So that's the Bible story. That's what I believe God showed me while I was in Milan during that conference. But now the question is, of course, what does this have to do with us? So during that conference, I believe God spoke two things to me. First is these words, get up and walk. And the second message I believe he gave us was, stop being like the sick man at the pool of Bethesda. At first, I didn't fully understand what God meant by that. I was wondering, where's the connection? But eventually, I believe God showed me the connection. Let's look at Aletheia 3 years ago. I mean, some of you are new. Some of you were already here, pre-COVID, different life. But 3 years ago, we moved into this place. We had a great vision. We saw this move as a total new start. We had huge plans, we had huge dreams and huge expectations. Before that, we were at Landsberger Straße in an office building, which we then realized over time, okay, that doesn't really suit us very well. So we wanted to look for something new. Then you know the troubles with the landlord that we had there and all those things, in the end having no electricity. And when we moved in here, we just had big dreams. We said, let's make this place our home. Let's make this a place where we can meet at any time, where we spend a lot of time with each other, where we use the place to connect, to pray together, to watch sports together, to share hobbies together. Let's make this a place where we can build greater community, use this place as a platform so that we can spend time with each other, so that we can spend time with non-Christians, that we can invite them to join us in these kind of activities, all those things. That was all our vision. That was all our plan. And we wanted to move in here, and we said, this is a new start. This is now the beginning of our season of being much more outreach focused and much more inviting to others. We had so many plans. There was such a great momentum going on. We installed the kitchen. One of the reasons why we said we wanted to have this kind of place, that we can have meals together, we can eat together, we can cook together, and all those things. We took the first steps to get the hangout room ready here, a place where we can just sit comfortably on a couch, where we can talk, watch TV together, all those things. Everything was moving in the right direction. And then came our infirmity. And that was COVID. For several months, we were not allowed to meet at all, not even one-on-one. Then we slowly got some more freedom back. We were allowed to meet, but only very limited. Then the second lockdown came. And all that time of not being allowed to do what we envisioned doing, it did something to us, if we are honest. It definitely did something to me, but I think it did something to all of us. Let's be honest. It killed that whole momentum that was there 3 years ago. It killed that excitement that was there. It took our hope. We moved in here with so much hope, with so much expectations. And then it was gone. And I think I'm not exaggerating when I say it happened to me. It happened to others as well. And maybe for some of us, it also changed the way we look at this church, the way we see this church, the way we see this community, our identity as a church, how valuable we are to God as a church, what we can achieve together as a church, how God can use us as a church. somehow during this time of COVID, things got lost. Things got broken. And if we are honest, we are just not the same church anymore that we were 3 years ago. Something got lost. Like the guy at the pool, this time of disappointments, this time of frustration, this time of being limited, just took something away from us that we did have 3 years ago. Now, to add one more thing that I learned in Milan that I think is very important so that we don't beat ourselves up. This is something that seems to be happening in all the churches. Every single person that I shared with, this is the state of our church. This is the struggles that we are facing. It looks like, after COVID, we are not the same church. Every single leader, every single pastor responded by saying, same here. So let's not beat ourselves up. Let's not feel like, okay, we messed this up or something like this. This is something that is happening all over the world. This is something that is happening everywhere. And like I said, every single person that I talked with in Milan shared, we are struggling with exactly the same things. We're having exactly the same problems. So I'm not blaming anyone, and if I'm blaming anyone, then I would have to blame myself first, because it all starts with me. I'm fully aware of that. So that's not my message. But what I'm saying is, I think we need to be aware of what COVID did to us, because only then can we come out of it again. Now, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that we simply ignore the other issues that have been raised over the last few months. Yes, we need to work on those things. Yes, we need to still work on our community, on our relationships to become better there again. And yes, we still need to work on some of the issues with the leadership, with me personally, where I need to improve. All those things that we discussed over the last few months. I'm not saying let's just push that all under the rug, let's just pretend it never happened. Of course, these are important things. These are important issues that we need to address, that we need to continue talking about, and that we need to continue improving. But what I am saying is, I believe God is calling us now to say, do not allow these issues to prevent us from doing what we know we ought to do. What did the guy at the pool do? He didn't focus on God. He focused on the circumstances. He focused on, I'm not fast enough. I don't have enough help. What he looked at, what he focused on was only the circumstances around him. And what he did not look at was God himself. We have that same choice. Yes, we do have things that we need to improve on. I'm not ignoring that. I'm not trying to brush aside any of the issues that have been raised. But I think God is challenging us now to say, do not let these things paralyze you. Don't be like the guy at the pool and just complain and think like, oh, if only this, if only that was different. Instead, God is challenging us to say, get up. Do what you know you're called to do. Do again the things that 3 years ago that you had in your heart. Bring them back to the surface. Pursue them again. And the healing, the restoration, the improvements that we all talked about, they will come as we get up and walk. Let's not be like the guy lying at the pool and saying, yeah, okay, I'll just lie here a while longer. Let's get up and walk. And as we walk, we receive our healing. So I believe God gave us the message. Stop feeling defeated. Stop allowing COVID to limit you. Stop feeling that we are limited in what we can do. God can do through us whatever He wants. Stop feeling that things have to change first before we can do what we feel called to do. Instead, I believe God is now challenging us to say, pursue the things we know God has called us to. Invest in community. Spend time together, both formally, programs, meetings, these kind of things, but of course also informally, just hanging out. Do outreach. Do practical activities. Do things so that non-Christians will hear about Aletheia and ultimately, of course, about Jesus. Create the outside advisory board, something that is mainly for the leadership. We've been talking about this for 3 years, and I don't understand, and this is talking to me, how I could allow that this was just kind of put on the shelf. We've been talking about having other people outside of Aletheia kind of overseeing us and giving us input and giving us advice from the outside in these kind of things. It's been on our agenda for 3 years, nothing ever happened. That is mainly on me. I'm not blaming anybody. And God is reminding me again, you've been talking about it for 3 years, you've just left it there. Pursue it. Go after it. Do what you know you're supposed to do. Get up and walk. I believe this is God's message for all of us, starting with me, but also to each and every one of us personally, and of course also to all of us as one church. Get up and walk. Do the things that you know you're supposed to do. Do the things you know I called you to do. And stop allowing COVID to paralyze you in what you know you're supposed to do. Which brings me back to one important question that we wrestled with during the weekend with Claire. What is my role within Aletheia? Church is often described as a body in the New Testament, which of course leads to an important question. What body part does God want me to be at Aletheia in this season? We shouldn't start with, what does Bernd want right now? Or what do I think the church needs right now? Instead, I believe each and every one of us really needs to ask God, what role does God want me to play in this church in this season? How does God want me to contribute to this church? How does He want me to contribute to outreach? How does God want me to contribute to the whole aspect of building community? Are there any other ways in which God wants me to contribute to this church? These are important questions that I believe we all need to hear from God personally. Not me telling people, but God telling each and every one of us personally. We started with that during the weekend with Claire, but I don't think we kind of finished. I think some of us still need to go back to God and get more specific and clearer answers from God. What is my role? And what am I supposed to do and contribute to this church? But like I said, it all comes down to a choice. The guy at the pool had a choice. Jesus offered the healing, but he could have stayed where he was, or he could have just gotten up and just walked. We have that same choice now. We can keep on looking at the circumstances, and we can keep on complaining. Well, the church isn't perfect. Maybe I liked certain things in my home church better and these kind of things. Relationships aren't perfect. The community isn't perfect. I would really like certain things be better. We are small. We are limited. We have limited budget, all these things. So we can't really do much compared to other churches. So we are very limited. We can keep on focusing on these things, or we can focus on God. And we can say, okay, God, we're going to get up. Okay, God, we're going to walk. Okay, God, we're going to do the things now that you called us to do. We're going to focus on the things that we can do instead of focusing on the things that we can't do. We're going to obey God's call, and we're going to invest more in community now. We're going to invest more into outreach. We're going to invest more into these things that we can do, and we're going to focus on that and we're going to make a new start now. That's what I believe God has been speaking to me. That's what I believe God has been challenging me personally, of course, as well. But I believe that's something that He really has for all of us as a church. He's telling all of us, get up and walk. Stop feeling defeated. Stop looking at circumstances. And instead, step up and do the things that you know you're called to do. So I really want to encourage everyone to wrestle with this question. What is God calling me to do in this season? What is my personal calling within this church? What is my role within this church? We'll spend some time praying now together here. We will also spend some time soaking on this topic one of these coming Sundays. And of course, there will also be time to share with each other, because I believe that God will put the pieces together. And as He gives different callings to each of us personally, as we put them together, we will also see that they fit together and that what God is calling us as a whole church. But the point is, I believe God is telling us this message. Get up and walk. And now we have a choice. We can respond to that and receive the healing, or we can just limit ourselves and continue the way that we have been doing since COVID. John 5, verse 8, Jesus said unto him, "Rise, take up your bed, and walk." That's what I believe God is calling all of us as an offer to respond to today. May we pray. Oh, Father, thank you for being with us, and thank you, Lord, for your patience with us, that you don't reject us when we fail, when we make mistakes, when we fall into this kind of ditch and, dig ourselves the hole deeper and deeper. In the midst of all of that, you're at work, and you love us, and you care for us, and you long to restore us. And Father, today is a day when we want to respond. Today is a day when we want to come to you. Today is a day when we want to say to you, Father, yes, we look at you. We don't look at the circumstances any longer. We don't allow circumstances to direct us any longer. We just want to walk with you. We just want to focus on you, and we just want to focus on the calling that you have for us, and not allow the circumstances to limit us any longer. So please speak to us personally. Speak to us as a church. Help us to hear, Lord, what you want to say to us, what you want us to do, how you want us to act from here. And help us, Lord, to really step up now and to become the church that you want us to be. Thank you for this great calling that you have for us. Help us be faithful stewards for the glory of your name. Amen. Now let's spend a few moments just listening to God and see what He wants to say to us personally.